and welcome to our first ever edition of Coffee with the Commissioner. I'm Jen Adams, Commissioner of the WPLL, and I am here with none other than the Julie Foudy. And unless you've been unless you've been under a rock for the last century or so, you know this lady needs no introduction. She's an absolute rock star, a US soccer player, played her collegiate career at Stanford, All-American, got into med school, but decided to forgo that to pursue the USA soccer career, where she was a captain, gold medalist at the Olympics and the World Cup. She's done it all. ESPN analyst, an author of an amazing book called Choose to Matter. Get out in bookstores soon. Podcasts, Laughter Permitted. Again, another one you should jump on. Unbelievable. Tons of fun with that. Directs JFSLA Academy, which is our connection and where we've kind of teamed up, which is Julie Foudy Leadership Academy, a sports and leadership camp that runs throughout the summers. Probably the most important job, full-time mother to Declan and Izzy, balancing it all and being able to do it all. And little known fact, an avid lacrosse fan, and she's debunked my myth that is soccer players have no hand-eye coordination. And I have witnessed her in action, and I think she could be pretty good at lacrosse. So welcome, Julie. We couldn't be more excited to have you here. We're time outing already? Oh.
Time out. Did you just say soccer players have no hand-eye coordination is your theory? I didn't know that was your theory, Jen.
I said you debunked that myth that I had.
If I had to debunk it, it meant it was originally your theory.
It possibly was. I know you're very, very good with your feet, but I was very impressed. I was very impressed this past couple of summers at you jumping in on those stick tricks. So
I like my stick tricks a lot.
Good stuff. Well, we are very excited to have you here, and we're going to jump right in. I'm going to ask you some of the tough, important questions, but one of the big ones for us is leadership. Obviously, sports and leadership kind of going hand in hand, but kind of what led you down the path to your philosophy on leadership. I absolutely love it. Being a part of things, I'm just enamored and in awe every time I sit at those leadership academies and get to hear you speak and speak so passionately and so genuinely about the concept that leadership and how it drives sport and has its place in sport. So kind of how'd you get to there, and why have you decided to keep pursuing that as something you want to pass on to the next generation?
Yeah. Well, I think it started, as you know very well, with the idea that, we as women and young girls grow up with a very, I thought, narrow definition of leadership in terms of how we view it, what we're reading, what we're seeing. It often was a person in a position of power, often a white man, maybe sitting on a horse as a general, or he was a president or a politician or a CEO. And, I grew up thinking that I didn't fit that mold. I didn't look that way. I didn't sound that way. I didn't get that type of education or whatever it was. And so, I must not fit into that leadership mold. And then I got around on the national team, all these amazing leaders in my teammates who led with entirely different styles and ways. And, from a Mia Hamm, who most people know of even outside of the soccer world, who was a legend in our game. And yet she never wanted to be the one that was the center of attention. She never wanted to have the spotlight. She never wanted to be the star, yet she was the star of our game for so long. Right. And her leadership style was very personal and quiet and cerebral. And the thing that fascinated me was being rowdy foudy, whatever you want to call me. I led in a very different outward way. And I'm watching her lead in a completely different way that was so effective. And I started to realize all these different styles of leadership, from a Joy Fawcett, another teammate who was literally for the first 10 years on the national team, we thought that she didn't speak because she never said anything. And so, and yet she then ends up being my co-captain the last 4 years we play. And so that was what fascinated me from the beginning. And could we talk to girls in a way that taught them that leadership isn't positional, it's personal, and that it's much broader than you think, and everyone can lead. It's just, you have to find your leadership style, and it will evolve and grow, but be comfortable in that, because then people want to follow you because it's authentic.
I love it. It's, I think it really connects to me. I think I've gone through sport and I never really thought too much about it, but when you'd reached out and we kind of got on board, it put it all together for me. This idea that it's not cookie cutter, there's no one right way to do it, and that everyone has leadership in them. And I just love that you're imparting that and willing to share that with that next generation, because obviously there's so many incredible young women. I mean, we get to witness it there at that camp, and the projects they take on and the things that they do is mind blowing. And it's just so cool to see that carry over. You touched on it. You talked about some of those players, but I guess for you, you're going to give me 3 leaders that you think have impacted and shaped your life. One is going to be a teammate, one is a coach, and one outside the realm of sport. So 3 people, maybe some deep and dirties about them.
Coming in hot for your first coffee with the commit, John. You think you can just run the show here, Jen? Okay,
yeah,
3. You said player, coach, and like a mentor?
Player, coach, and a mentor maybe outside of sport. So not necessarily doesn't have to be from the soccer field.
Okay. Player, for sure, Carla Overbeck, who was our longtime captain for many years. I was her co-captain, and just this complete rock. So steady, so calming in the chaos. I mean, that to me defines whether you're a coach, a player, a leader. It doesn't matter what your role is, how you react in the crazy situations or the most pressuring situations says everything to me about a leader. Because we all can be leaders when things are going well and you're winning and the team's doing well or you're playing well. Yet who's gonna really settle everyone when the hits the fan? And that was Carla. And so she, for many years, would always have the right tone, be able to, which I would listen to all the time, because you always hear coaches say, you need to be more verbal, you need to talk more. Well, there's a big difference between, come on, you guys, we got this, to come on, you guys, right? And Carla understood that her tone mattered. And so in every crazy situation, whether it was a World Cup or an Olympics, there was always a moment I can remember almost on a per game basis, literally. And especially as it got to the finals or the more heated type of games, she would have a moment where all of a sudden from the back line, she was our center back, she'd go, "We're fine. Stop freaking out." And she'd almost say it with a laugh when she has this big booming voice. And I would start cracking up because maybe I was losing it at that moment. And she would start cracking up and the team would start cracking up and she would diffuse it. And so I've always been so amazed at those who have that capacity to, when all else around you is starting to tank and go south or downward, you have to have the ability, whatever, and you can be in any role. You don't have to be, again, this position of power or a superstar or a gold medalist. You have the ability to help your team with how you react in those situations. And she was fantastic at that, Carla Overbeck. Coach leadership style. Well, I loved Anson Dorrance, famous coach at University of North Carolina, because he could literally get you like frothing at the mouth and you would do anything for him. Like, what do you want me to do, coach? I am here for you. And how many people have that ability where you're like, I will do anything, let's go. He could give a speech and he could spin a story, and literally the most motivating coach in that sense I've ever played for. And he really, built the foundation for our national team of roll your damn sleeves up. If you can do anything, if you control anything, it's your grit. And that is the one thing we as Americans will always have. Not you Aussies, we Americans.
Oh, come on, Julie, come on. Let's not go there.
Nah, but that was like, we've got the mentality of, it doesn't matter if we have, a leg I'm dragging or an arm I'm dragging behind me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pull my grit out. That was Anson Dorrance. Awesome. And then I would say for a mentor, probably, and although she played sports, she's mentored me in so many other facets of life, is Billie Jean King, who's a friend. And so I'm cheating this a little bit because you asked for a non-sports person, but I don't
That's all
consider her
right.
actually.
She's
Yeah,
above and beyond any.
yeah,
She
exactly.
transcends. She
She
transcends.
definitely transcends. And the thing about Billie that she's always taught me, I got introduced to Billie in like the mid to late 90s when we were struggling with making any money on the national team. So similar to the equal pay fight you see happening today, we were fighting more for equitable pay, not equal, but for standards to rise, clearly. And super frustrated. We've been on the national team for 8-9 years, and I was listening to her tell the story, and it was a very small group of us that I got invited to. She was telling the story about breaking away from tennis, the women's tennis tour, and how they broke away from the men. They had the courage to start their own, and that they just realized they needed to do their own thing. They needed to break away. They needed to be brave enough to do that. And I'm listening to her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is us. This is what we're going through as a national team with our federation not supporting us, not paying us. We weren't able to make a living. We were frustrated by the standards. And so when I tell her that, she says to me, and I've told this story before, so some may have heard it, but she says to me, Foudy, what are you doing about it? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, we're trying. She's like, no, you get the players together. You get them to come together. You, the players. And I said, oh, okay. And so literally from that meeting, I was flying to meet the national team, and we were supposed to sign another contract that paid us about $10 a day in per diem and nothing else. And I was like, oh, we are not signing this contract. Billie Jean King told me this, this, and this, and this. And from that day forward, that was the mid to late 90s, she became a mentor to me, to the team. She would check in. Where are you? How's it going? Here's what we did in tennis. This is what you should do. Try this. You need to get the younger kids on board now. I mean, to that level of just her willingness to help and advocate as she does in so many other areas. I know just not soccer, but in so many different industries as well. I'll never forget. And to this day, we check in all the time, and she's a legend. She truly is just a gift.
Amazing. Love them. What a trio you've had lead the way for you. That's pretty cool. And I think we are all such a fabric of these incredible people that we come across in our lives. And before you get to ask me any questions, I'm going to jump to another one, because you kind of talked a little bit about kind of you sitting in that room and listening to Billie Jean King and you resonating with that story. I think we in lacrosse, in the WPLL, Women's Professional Lacrosse League, we may be back then. You know, I watched the 99ers, you know, yeah. For me, even being an Aussie, I can put my pride aside and say, you know, I was, you know, floored. I just hung off watching that movie and listening to you speak about your teammates. There's so much of that in lacrosse and in our teams, and the characters and the leaders and the different people. And, you know, where we are, I think, is probably back then. We're obviously at a different time, but just the struggle. It's hard. I think you can attest to that, and as over time, and it's still a fight we're fighting. You know, I just recently read an ESPN article, women's article about, you know, it's not just about pay. It's about so much more, and the inequality of it all. And so I guess for me, you know, I guess advice from you for those of us that it's been passion poured into it for so long, and especially now with this global pandemics put everything on ice for a little bit. We felt like we're making these strides forward. What kind of advice do you have, in particular, probably for the players? I'm asking this about hanging on and continuing to push, and realizing there may be something on the other side of this, a little light at the end of the tunnel, and the fight is worth it. And to keep it going, so that maybe that next generation can be in the shoes that you put US soccer in.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know we've talked about this a lot. I think the exact same thing every time I meet a lacrosse player, you know, whether it's, you know, Cookie or Taryn or people who've worked at our camp over the years that have played with the U.S. or are playing with the U.S. or, you know, even Jenny Levy, Dan Levy, her husband is a dear friend, as he's an agent to many soccer players. But it strikes me as it's very similar to us, you know, back in the late 90s, and we're on the cusp of something, and you can feel the momentum and the change and the energy shifting that way. But you're not there yet, and the sponsors aren't there yet, and the broadcast rights aren't there yet. And that was where our frustration fell, is we felt like, oh my gosh, there's this interest and there's this passion for this, and we have this incredible passion. We're willing to pour our heart and souls into making this happen. Just tell us how to do it, right? And so what I would tell the players is, the thing that worked for us, and what I tell all teams, you know, from women's ice hockey, who's made major strides in the last few years with their federation, to, you know, other sports, is that the thing that worked for us is that we were completely on the same page as the team, right? Because you're going to have resistance. You're going to have people who say, stand down, don't talk that way. How dare you push like that? How dare you ask for better standards? We can't afford it. You should just be grateful you're playing for the United States of America. And yet in our situation, it was a very different standard for the men's national team than it was for the women. And so we'd see that and we'd say, but you have the money. You just signed a deal with Nike for 120 million or whatever it is. So we stayed together and unified in our approach. And that way they could never come at any one of us, right? Because they'd have to cut the entire team. And so in that solidarity was power. It was strength in numbers, because we came together. And so that's what I'm constantly saying to teams, because what happens is it gets fractured, and some players want it and some don't, and then they can pull a team apart, and then it just sets you back. I mean, it set hockey back. Cami Granato, who was of my era, tried to do it for hockey in the 90s, and she couldn't get the team to stay on the same page. So it took them another literally 17 years, 18 years before they were able to make those strides. And I don't want to see lacrosse go through that. I want them to make those strides now, so that in 18 years or in 5 years, right, we're talking about packed stadiums and broadcast rights deals and World Cups that are happening with tremendous crowds, and you're setting a standard that the rest of the world will want to follow. So that, I think, was the most important thing for us, and the willingness to keep standing up and speaking up. That's hard as a player. You fear for your job, for what's going to happen, the repercussions of that. Am I going to be penalized for that? But again, if you do it as a group, they can't penalize you, because if you cut one player, we're all going. If you're all in together, there's no one that can stop that happening. So I say, you stand up, you speak up, you constantly think about, as Billie Jean used to pose to us, it's not that you're doing it for you to line your pockets. How do you want to leave the game in a better place? What do you want? If you had a blank canvas, she used to always ask me, what do you want for the next generation, Julie? And that's where we would start. That was our discussion with the Federation all the time.
I love that. Now, can we sign you up as a therapist? You're pretty good at that too. add it to your curriculum vitae, which is rock star status. Yeah, very cool. And it feels like a constant battle. You talk about sponsors and broadcast rights, and you feel like you're constantly butting up against the wall, but we feel like in lacrosse we're on this cusp. I think we have a very exciting game, and in a really unique time in life where the stories behind the players are just so cool. And you know, these women are out doing, you know, having careers and doing things outside of lacrosse, and then coming onto this platform and being able to be just the most amazing athletes. And we're at a really cool time in our sport where Olympics is on the horizon. There's an opportunity that we're going to get there and be able to compete for a medal on a podium, and just all that stuff. It's so exciting. And then, you know, all of this happened, and it felt like, okay, everything's been put on this ice box, and we've got to hold out now and see kind of what's unfolding. So it's really cool to hear your take on it, and that if we, you know, stick in there, and sometimes you got to just keep beating your head against a brick wall to break on through. So very cool.
Well, the next thing too, Jen, that seems different from our situation, is you seem like you have such a global unification of women coming together, from, you know, from Dana Dobie in Canada, with, you know, with you in Australia, and, you know, then you have the US players. Like, we didn't have that, which would have been, I think, even extra powerful, to be able to come from an international side. I mean, we knew some international players, but we didn't come to the table as a unified group, which I think in the end, if you can stay unified, again, it only can help you grow the game globally, not just in that one country.
So you're saying lacrosse players are friendlier than soccer players?
Yes, we did not talk to the Norwegians, that's for sure. You
don't mix with the enemy. Not how it goes down. Too good. Too good. Awesome. Well, I
Um,
mean,
wait, can I ask a couple questions to you?
you may in the hot
Can I?
seat. You're flipping.
Am I allowed to? Yeah, am
It's
I
the
allowed to flip the
analyst in
hot
you.
seat?
Yeah, it's the analyst in you. I
I
knew I
know.
wasn't going to get away with it. Too good. All
Podcaster in me. I haven't heard
right.
anybody introduce me as a podcaster. All right, so you have been such an example of leadership for so many years in all your different aspects. What would you say is the number one trait of a leader that you value?
Authenticity. I think that's an easy one for me. I think it's about, no one will believe in you if you don't believe in that yourself so hard, so, strongly. So I think being a genuine leader, and I think that comes back to what I've loved about, working with you and hearing your side and your philosophy on leadership is everyone's got it in them. It's finding that strength. And I think it's really easy to point to weaknesses and say, I've got to get better at this. But to look at something you're good at and naturally good at and harness that and let the light shine on that, I think for me is the most important thing.
Another thing that always fascinates me with you, which I think the best leaders do, is they're able to reframe a bad situation and flip it to a positive. So you had, for example, your career ending situation with the ACL injury right before World Cup. But for you to do what you did in what had to have been just a gut-wrenching experience for me, and I know we talk about this at the Leadership Academy, but I don't know if I would have had the strength to say, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be on that bench, I'm going to be with you and lead in that capacity. How do you find that strength when you could easily go the other way and be like, what the heck, really? This was it for me. This is how I'm going to end my career?
Yeah. I think about that a lot, but I think in the framework for me, I chose to play a team sport. And so it's never been about me. And so, when I've gone down with injuries or teammates have gone down with injuries or things have happened, it's always been bigger than that. It's the game itself. It's your teammates out on the field and being able to be there in whatever capacity they might need you. And I felt fortunate that, Australia, that I had an opportunity to be still in that capacity, and they felt that it would be valuable for me to be there. So where it might have been, really gut wrenching at first for that to happen, in looking at it and saying, okay, what do other people need from me now? I can't do what I was doing, but I can still do something. Not looking at it from what can't I do, but what can I do? And so for me, people talk about all the time. They talk about injuries or setbacks or obstacles or things they've come through and that have taught them so much about themselves. And for me, that was that aha moment of, that's what it's about. That's what being a selfless leader. That's what being, understanding that sport is bigger than you, that especially when you play a team sport. I will probably still feel sorry for myself if I played something like tennis and something where it was all about me, but it's never been. And so for me, it was an easy framework to look past, and it's helped me so much in my perspective as a coach to understand what people are going through when they get injured or when they're struggling through something like that. Because perspective is really everything. Being able to walk in someone's shoes, I think is just so valuable. So, yeah.
Yeah. That was always our frame of mind too with the players, is that if we could always think of it as, what's best for the game. It's never about what I'm going to get out of it. Like, how do you leave it in a better place? And if you can come from that frame of mind, I just feel good things follow. There's like good karma that comes with that, right? It's never about in my pocket. I just want more girls to be playing. I want them to be playing under better conditions. I want people to be recognizing them for what great, work they do, more women to be playing. And that, I think, when you come with that frame of mind, then also you win the public over too, right? It's a very different mindset than you see in professional sports sometimes today.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's cool. Awesome. Well, we're getting towards wrapping it up here. Julie, I hope that your time here, obviously during the pandemic, on the bright side, you're getting to spend lots of time with your family back at home. We got budding lacrosse stars in both Izzy and Declan, right? You've been out in the yard having a throw. We've got them sticks, they're all
yeah,
covered.
doing our stick tricks. Doing our stick
Yeah.
tricks. Hey, Jen, did you ever see the show? I forget the name of the host. It will come to me, but he used to do it. It was called Between Two Ferns. Have you ever heard of the American show?
I didn't see it, but I've seen there's a movie out. Is there? There's something like that.
Is there a movie too? He used to do he'd interview people with these two ferns in the background. I can't remember the comedian's name. But yeah, I was thinking, your coffee with the commish, it could be like, between two palms. Look at you.
Between two yuccas. Yeah, I'm in nature. I'm like out and about. There's some big yuccas. There's some big succulents that are growing here in Australia. There might
be like a kangaroo that pops out of that, or a koala soon. I don't know.
Possibly. You never know here in Australia. You just never know. Julie Foudy, you are the best. You're an absolute rock star. I'm so happy I got to get on and have a chat with you. Obviously not getting to go to camp this summer, but I do know we are in the works of getting some Julie Foudy Sports Leadership Academy virtual online stuff going. So everyone keep an eye out for that. Also hearing whispers while we're all here in quarantine, I kind of hearing some whispers about this Netflix kind of stuff.
Oh, yes. Yes, there's a movie
exciting.
On the like a motion picture movie.
Tell you what, are you going to get to play your own parts, or do you get actresses in to play you?
Yeah, no, they're going to get actresses.
Who are you hoping is going to be your go-to? Who's going to be playing Julie, the incomparable Julie Foudy?
I don't know, Dolly Parton.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's a long, illustrious list.
I don't know if we'll get a say. It'll be fun though. It's a good game.
Very fun. Well, we can't wait to watch out. You've been so much fun to continue to follow, and we'll keep listening to those Laughter Permitted podcasts. They're absolutely unbelievable. Hopefully we can get Alexa on there soon. Got to keep wearing you down. I know.
We were working on that. If that convention ever happens, of doing a session there. So if the cross convention ever happens, I'm sad that you guys didn't get your Final Four in. You didn't get the rest of your season in. You didn't get your season in for women's professional. A lot of bummers now.
A lot of bummers.
All of that will come back.
A lot of good stuff, including things like Coffee with the Commish with the amazing Julie Foudy. Thanks again for jumping on, and we'll definitely catch up soon, Julie.
Thanks, Jen. Love you. Miss you.
Thank you. You too.
Hi, everyone. This is Katie Hirsch. I'm a defender for the WPLL Commands, and I'm the current assistant coach at USC in Southern California. I'm so happy to be a part of the WPLL Dream Stream. What a great time to come together as athletes and coaches to share some of our favorite lacrosse drills and ideas, but also to benefit great charities and organizations around the world. So thanks for joining us, and now I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite footwork drills. So this is a really simple, easy footwork drill to do. It works on your quickness, your explosiveness, and just being in a good athletic stance. So all you're going to need is a small space, about 4x4 or 5x5 yards, 7 cones, and your stick. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it. All right, so to set this drill up, you're just going to need your 6 cones, put them each about a foot apart in a nice straight line, and you're ready to go. Okay, so for this first variation, I'm just going to drive my feet, nice and explosive choppy steps. I'm going to tap inside the space of the cones. I'm going to do that with my right. I'm going to do that with my left, and then I'm going to rest. All right, so now I'm going to demo how you should do this at full speed. All right. And now I'm going to rest about 20 to 30 seconds, let my body reset, and then I would repeat that 2 more times for a total of 3 times. Okay, so for this next variation, I'm going to zigzag in between the cones, staying nice and low, driving my feet, and being in a good athletic stance while staying really fast. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to do this next variation. All right, so then I come back, I rest for about 20 to 30 seconds and repeat that 3 times. All right, so this next variation, I'm gonna drive my feet and then I'm gonna tap my outside foot in the space of the cones while I'm driving my feet. All right, so now I'm gonna demo how to do this variation. All right, so that's a little bit more of a fun one, and now I rest 20 to 30 seconds and repeat that 3 times. All right, so for this last variation, you're gonna add your stick. You're gonna add your 7th cone, which is my blue cone over there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive up the side of these red cones. I'm gonna break down in a good athletic stance. I'm gonna laterally drive to the left cone over there, my blue cone, come back, sit really low, and it ends in a good athletic stance. All right, so let's check it out. All right, so after I sat for just a second, I jog back. Again, I'd rest for about 20 to 30 seconds. Repeat that for 3 total times. All right, and then I'd switch my cone. Take your cone, put it to the opposite side. Do the same thing for 3 total times on this side. So again, coming up, sitting nice and low, driving laterally, coming back, and sitting low. All right. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Now I'm passing it forward to the Color of Change organization. They do a lot of awesome work and campaigns towards fighting the racial injustices in this country, and I'd really encourage you guys to check it out too.
What's up, lacrosse friends? My name's Kevin Crowley. I play in the NLL for the Philadelphia Wings, the MLL for the Philadelphia Barrage, and for Team Canada's men's national team. And today I have the pleasure of teaching you guys inside catching and finishing. So what we're gonna start as, first thing, inside finishing, you gotta catch the ball, right? You gotta have the ball on your stick. So what I always tell kids I'm teaching when they're catching the ball is to make sure you're cushioning the ball back as it comes into your stick and not snapping at it. And one thing I'm going to talk about a lot is this triple threat position right here with my stick off my ear. And from here I could throw fakes, could shoot, can dodge from here. So as a Canadian growing up, we were always taught keep your stick in your triple threat position at all times. And it's especially true when we're finishing in tight. So again, ball comes in, right? I'm cushioning it back straight to my triple threat, no wasted motion. If you're in front of the goal, there's typically a lot of traffic with defenders, guys who can easily smack your stick, check you in front of the goal. So we want to make sure we're keeping that stick nice and tight to our ear here so that we can throw our fakes from this position. And so when we're throwing fakes, we don't want to roll our wrist over and extend like this. You guys can see how far my stick comes in front of my body. What I talk about when I'm throwing fakes is quarter turn fakes or snap fakes. And what that means is I'm rolling my wrist inside, this top hand's doing all the work, and it's just rolling inside a little bit. And you'll see the way to really sell a fake is to sell it with your head and your shoulders as well as your stick. So I'm not just standing here and rolling my wrist open like that. I'm gonna pump with my shoulder, and what I'm doing by moving my shoulder is bringing my triple threat position a little bit forward. And so I can still see what the goalie's doing. I pump the goalie, I read what they're doing, then I can either shoot it back where if they didn't bite on my fake, or I'm gonna pump them this way and change the direction where I'm gonna shoot the ball. You guys have all heard before about fake high, shoot low, fake low, shoot high. That's the key to inside finishing. So quick review, right? Catching the ball, making sure I'm not snapping at it so the ball is not out here again, right? This is a position where we can't do anything in lacrosse from, right? So it's always this triple threat, always have my stick by my ear. I catch the ball. The next thing I want to do is square my shoulders. When we're talking about time and room shots, it's all about turning your shoulders away from the goal and then squaring up. When we're in tight, we don't need to generate power. It's all about quickness and accuracy. So what I want to do, instead of turning my shoulders, I'm actually going to square my shoulders. And I liken it to basketball. That's all the good shooters square their shoulders up. Well, when we're in tight, we want to kind of choke up on our stick, which means I slide my bottom hand. Everything's about efficiency in tight. I want to leave my stick as close to my body so I'm not leaving it out here where a defender can check it. So as soon as I catch that ball, I'm bringing it in tight to my ear, and this is where I'm throwing those snap fakes and those quarter turn fakes from. And again, the snap fake is just with the top hand. This bottom hand is only serving as a guide. And I can still keep my stick in my triple threat here if I'm faking down the side or up top. And you just see it's a subtle rotation of my wrist, and I use my head and my shoulders, boom, boom, to sell the fake. So that's kind of the keys for inside catching, inside faking. That's what we want all our fakes to look like. I never want to, again, roll my wrist over and extend out here on the crease, because if I throw a fake like this, by the time I bring my stick back to my ear, my triple threat, the goalie has time to recover. So bearing those things in mind, I'll turn around and face the cage. Goalies have a tough time, especially in tight, getting down, right? Their sticks are up high here, so the hardest shot for them to save is going to be if you drop it to the ground. And so what I call my snap fake, right? I'm actually pumping the goalie. So I want to freeze them to think that I'm going in one position, and again, it's that quick release from my ear to put the ball in the opposite direction. So I might come across the front of the crease, catch the ball, square my shoulders, and I'm going to fake it top left, and then shoot the ball bottom right, okay? But I never want to stare at where I'm shooting. I never want to go, okay, top left, I've thrown my fake, now I shift my whole body, and my body language says bottom right, and I'm shooting the ball there, right? Goalies are very good, especially as you get older, at picking up your body language. So if they see that fake coming here, they're gonna think, okay, where's he logically gonna go next? Down there. But if I could throw that shot before they can react, because I keep my stick nice and tight to my body, fake up here, I'm actually going to keep my body language looking that direction again. So I'm here, and I'm going to throw it down here without dropping my head and my body language. That's going to keep the goalie up high for longer, give me a better chance to score. So we're always told too to finish in front of the goal. If I catch the ball on this side of the net, I don't just want to stop here and shoot. I could keep coming across the front. If I catch it here, I'm probably going to fake to the near side, freeze the goalie on the left pipe, and then continue to come around to get around the goalie and finish the ball in the corner, right? So I'm at a tough angle with where the camera is right now. This would be more coming from right here. If I was in tight here, throwing that fake, freezing the goalie on the near pipe, shooting it opposite. And again, you don't see my body language tipping off where I'm shooting. If I'm shooting low, I don't look low like this, because goalies, as they get better, the shots get harder, they start picking up your body language. If they see me as a shooter drop my shoulder down, they're gonna drop down. So they don't have to recover for as far or cover as much distance to make the save. So if I'm shooting low, I'm going to keep my shoulders nice and neutral, parallel to the ground, and snap it down into the ground. Vice versa, if I'm shooting high, I'm faking down here. Again, you just notice my fake isn't like down into the corner here, right? I'm not faking right down into the corner. I'm just kind of pump faking this snap fake down here, but my stick's still in a position where I can bring it back up top and shoot the ball quickly. So we don't want that methodical, big wind up here, fakes or shots. It's all about being efficient. Keep that sticking tight to my body. Pump here, finish there. Not tip off with our body language where we're shooting, and being decisive. I think that's one of the most important things. Confidence. If I'm a hesitant shooter, then goalies are gonna pick up on that, and they're gonna get to, you're gonna be a little bit slower because you're overthinking things, right? You can keep it simple on the crease. I know if I drop my head and my shoulders down here, a goalie's gonna bite low here, and then I can finish it up top. And I know that's gonna be there whether he's a lefty goalie or a righty goalie. If I drop my body language this way, they're automatically gonna come down, whether they're lefty, righty, and I know that top's open. So have the confidence in your shooting ability to be able to pick those corners. I'm trying to think if I can think of anything else to give you guys. You guys have all my secrets now. I think I covered it all. All right, so now I want to pass it along to a charity, a nonprofit charity in Philadelphia here that I care a lot about. It's called Philodoptables. It helps all the animals that get rescued on the streets. It helps fund them to get their surgeries or to feed them, just the basic necessities of life in the animal shelter. So Philodoptables is near and dear to my heart, and that's who I'm passing it off to. Thank you. Oh.
Hi guys, Katrina Dowd here, an attacker for the WPLL fight. I'm here to teach you guys some creative stick work and just give you guys some advice on really what helped me become a better player. I definitely love cradling, whether I'm at a practice or in the backyard or in between drills getting water. I usually always have a stick and grab a loose ball, and I'm just always cradling. You know, I'm able to talk to my teammates and focus, but I always find myself cradling and just keeping my hands active and loose. Even in between drills, it's just something I've always loved to have a stick in my hands. Even growing up in my house, always had that stick in my hands. So I think cradling is super important. I think catching and throwing and wall ball are amazing, but I think learning how to cradle and move the stick all over your body while keeping control of that ball and keeping it in the sweet spot is really important and really fun. So how to, step one of learning how to be a good cradler is we want to make sure we have a really loose grip, right? We want soft hands and then quick hands. So that's what you guys are seeing is I have soft hands, able to have that loose grip, but I also have quick. They're able to move quick to be able to get a lot of different spots of cradling. Okay, so how to get that? Make sure you grip it. When you first pick up the stick, you want to make sure you want to be aware, like grip, when you first pick it up, you want to have that loose grip. Okay? And then I do a lot of spinning my stick, which I think just helps create that great cradle. So I spin towards myself. So I have one hand on the bottom, one hand up top, and I'm just spinning towards myself. Okay? You can see I'm going at a nice pace, and then if you can get good at it, you want to start to pick up that pace. I can also spin away from my body. When I do that, personally, I use more of my bottom hand. So now my top hand's a guide, and my bottom hand is now doing more of the spinning. So if you can see that, right? When I go, now I'm going towards, it's way more my top hand. When I go away, it's way more my bottom hand. So that way I'm able to engage both of them. Then I like to go towards and away. I think that's what looks cool, and I add a little bit of footwork into it. But you can see I'm going towards, then away, towards and away. And that is just really loosening up my grip and working on that cradle. So that's what I usually start with and teach a lot to getting a lot better at cradling. The next thing when I cradle is I like to fake a lot, and also when I'm cradling, just kind of making it look like I'm going to let the ball go, and then I'm actually holding on to it. So I like to take some of my favorite either trick shots or my favorite shots and then turn them into fakes and add them into my cradling. So one of my favorites is a BTB, which is a behind the back, so it's either a shot or a pass. So that's when we send that stick, instead of going across our body, right, across the front of our body, we're actually going to go behind our back and release. So I like to turn that into a fake. So what I'm going to do, have my nice triple threat position. I'm going to step, and I like to curl and touch the top of my shoulder and bring the stick back down. So from this angle, so I'm going to come up, curl towards, and then roll it back. Roll, you can see my hand is coming up, and then my wrist is rolling towards me. So I'm coming up, roll, come back. I do that a lot when I'm cradling. Roll up and back. When I'm in live play and I want a BTB fake, I usually I show it. So I really lean and show, and I come back. So when I'm using that against a goalie, I show it and come back. So there's no wrist rolling on that. I show it and then come back. I think that's usually enough to get the goalie to think I'm going to BTB and then bring it right back for a quick shot. When I cradle, I like to do the pump because I think that's exaggerating and I have more time. No one's going to come and check me. So I usually like to bring the stick as low as I can both ways. So really exaggerate. I like to add a lot of footwork as well. When I'm back here, I'm on my right foot, all my weight. I'm a right-handed player. All my weight's on my right foot. As I start to bring the stick up, I shift my weight to that left. Now I do my motion. I usually like to step up a little and then bring it back down. So you're adding that cradling technique, right? So we're cradling all over and then a BTB fake. We're back to cradling. So that's one I like to add, which is really cool. And there's tons more. Biggest thing is just getting comfortable with that grip of that stick and then challenging how much and how fast you can go without losing grip of that ball. So that's kind of what I want to inspire you guys to do. That's a fun one. So I usually start right here. Okay, this is a fun one to learn. I'm going to come here. We're going to come over. Okay, my bottom hand is staying right by my belly button, right off, about a foot off my belly button. And I'm going to hold that strong, that bottom hand, and I'm going to come over with my top. So you guys see that? My shoulders don't move. Okay, a lot of players like to turn their shoulders. And when you see me cradling, I'm always standing tall. I'm standing, right? My shoulders move a little, but it's mostly my hands and my wrists. So we don't really want to overly protect. We kind of want to get out of that. We want to be able to keep our head up, our chin up, our chest up, so that way we can translate it to when we play on the field. Okay, so we're here, shoulders up, and we're going to come across. Okay, and we're going to want to do that really fast. Let's just practice that. So again, that bottom hand stays at our belly button. We're going across our body. Pretty fun. And yes, the ball is still in there. So that's one of the motions I do all the time, and then I learn how to step with it. Okay, so we're gonna come across, quickly back, step forward, bring it in front, raise our leg, pop it back. So we're here, we're gonna bring it across, bring it back, step our leg, bring it back forward, pop it through. That's kind of it in a faster motion. So again, here, across, back, throw it a little bit forward, step, raise that leg, pop it to yourself. So that's a cool, these are the types of, when I'm talking about cradling, really thinking and adding stuff once you get comfortable. Another part of cradling that really helped me was upside down cradling. So with our sticks, now I have a great pocket, but we don't have the biggest pocket, so learning this skill, learning that feel of the ball, getting this great wrist strength is really important. So this is how I do it. I'm a dominant right-handed player, so I like to upside down cradle with my right hand on the bottom. Okay, so the stick's now sitting in my left hand. I like to rise up. How I start my upside down cradling, I rise up, then I'm gonna roll the stick towards me and just go right into cradling. So again, I'm here, rise up a little, and then right into upside down cradling. Then you wanna go right between your legs on the other side, across your body, okay? And back, across, and your wrists should get pretty tired. But that is a great, and we can switch our hands, come through. That is a great skill to start learning, is upside down cradling and controlling that ball. So fun too. The last one I'm gonna leave you guys with is just something I always catch myself doing all the time when I'm cradling, is a BTB pass to yourself into an around the world pass to yourself. So I'm gonna show it to you guys as best I can. Sometimes it's hard to catch all the time. So I'm just gonna pop it up. There we go. So I'm just gonna pop it up, catch, and I'm gonna, from this position, from this catch, because I wanna catch it across my body, I'm gonna come right into an around the world. Right into a BTB, right into an around the world. And just learning how to trust, right? I don't have my eyes, when I'm passing it, I can't see. I lose sight of the ball. And then once I see the ball, I'm gonna go grab it and then go right into my other toss. So again, around the world, BTB, around the world, BTB. And then try to get as many as you can in a row. That is one of the most fun things to just be practicing all the time. Thank you so much for listening and learning with us. I hope you're all doing well. I want to pass it forward to our next dream streamer. I'm Katrina Dowd, and I've donated to Black Lives Matter.
Hey guys, it's Lauren Murray from the WPLL Pride and Northwestern graduate. I'm so excited to be here with you all and to be joined by one of my all-time great teammates and best defensive teachers.
Hey everyone, Taylor Thorn here. I played at Northwestern. I was fortunate enough to win 2 national championships while I was there. I was a 4-time All-American, and I even got to play 1 year with the Braves. So I'm super excited to be here and help out Lauren.
Amazing. So what we're going to talk to you guys today is about defense and how we can use our sticks, okay, to create 50-50 opportunities by being super disciplined and fundamentally sound. So first drill we're going to work on is imagining you're covering an attacker or a midfielder with the ball right here, okay? We're going to get into our defensive stance. Taylor, any keys for a defensive stance?
So what's important is you don't want to lock out your legs and you don't want to be upright. So the key to defense is really having a low center of gravity. So you want your feet about a little bit more than hip width apart, and you want to sit back like you're sitting in a chair. So nice and low, so a low center of gravity. I'm able to react and have a really quick first step. And also if you have to get back and play defense, you're able to recover quicker.
Amazing. So now that we have our bottom half covered, let's talk about what our arms and our hands are doing, okay? So we're gonna get into a nice and quick hand pattern, side to side, working on that checking, using all of that key body language stuff that Taylor was just talking about, okay? And now we're gonna add this element of surprise, okay? So as soon as I yell block, we're gonna stick our hands up in the passing lane to try to get that knockdown. So we're going, block, reset right away, block, block, good. We can even go into a different pattern, all right? Talking about an infinity. So again, not super big motions here. We're talking about still being low, nice and quick with the hands. Block, block. And Taylor's stick, if you'll notice, there's something a little bit different about it. All right, we're taking it to the next level. Best thing about defense is it's not always pretty, it just has to work, okay? So adding a little bit of weight, taping a ball on that stick is going to make it so much harder for your forearms. So when you go back down now to a regular weight stick,
So much better.
watch her fly. Ready?
So much better.
Lock. Amazing. All right, so this next section that we're going to teach is all about combining what we just learned about that body positioning and that quick handwork technique and applying it to a more game-like situation.
Right.
So this next drill is going to take a couple different cones, all right, work on our approach, riding out that body defense on the ball, and then recovering back towards the middle, all right, having our stick in the passing lane, because as we know, we're not just playing 7 games of one-on-one out here. We're playing 1 game of 7v7. Yep. We want our teammates to be there for us. We have to be there to back them up too. You want to break down footwork for these guys?
Yes, so just one kind of important note within this drill, y'all, is when you're getting down low and you're coming up and approaching those cones, you really want to break down your feet. So it's important, it may seem really simple, but the fact that when you take those choppy steps, it allows you to switch directions much quicker than if you're just going the same pace the whole time. You're able to react to where the ball is, react to where your girl is going, and it all comes back to having really discipline and simple things that lead to a much bigger outcome.
Great, let's show them how it looks. So we have 3 cones in the back line and then 1 just extended from the top middle. So Taylor's gonna start here at the top. It's so great if you have a buddy, a teammate, a family member, anyone to be able to have that sort of directional, real-time reaction element here, but you can certainly definitely go through the motions on your own. So Taylor's gonna start here in the middle. She's gonna approach up. I'm gonna point her this way. Good, and recover with the ball, getting that stick right in the passing lane, and she's able to snag it right out of the air. Let's see another one. All right, and go. And recover. Amazing. All right, so one thing here, you want to reset really quick, that Taylor does super well, okay, is as she's approaching and going this way, good. Notice, okay, short choppy steps even on this part, using her stick up in the backfield, okay? So she's always in the passing lane there. And then she opens up to recover towards the middle instead of turning her back to the major part of the play. So super, super important to keep in mind. All right, you guys, so the last situation and scenario that we have for you today is, we've already gone over that on-ball body defense and having quick hands. We've gone over that approach, riding it out, and then recovering back into the middle. And now we're gonna talk about a little bit of a different scenario, which is 8 meters, okay? So first things first is being in the right spot, okay? If Taylor just got fouled and she's the one that's gonna be taking the free position, I know, I've done my homework, I've guarded her in practice, right? I know she's a right-handed player, all right? So I'm gonna put myself on the stick side hash, all right? If I come over here, she can very easily protect that stick and get away from me. But instead, I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna have my weight on my front leg and my back leg is close behind, ready to drive forward as soon as I hear that whistle, all right? And now when I'm thinking about my hands, what I'm gonna do is have my inside arm, which is my left arm in this case, be on the bottom of my stick. So instead of just having to lunge with 2 hands to try to make contact on her stick, what I can do is actually reach a little bit farther. Just a couple more inches can make a huge difference with that bottom 1 hand. So, super slow-mo. As we're advancing here, I'm gonna try to cut that angle, tweak, moving in, just trying to make contact up on the stick. Never trying to swing into anyone's face for safety reasons. It's really not necessary. Use those angles, make contact. Anything to add?
I think that was perfect. It's really about 8 meters are effort when you're on defense, all right? I know sometimes it's tough, you feel like you're a man down, but if you can really get in that good positioning and angle up yourself to where you're loading that front foot but pushing off to explode, I'm telling you, you'll get those knockdowns if you just keep the mentality of every next ball, every play is yours. I think that's half the battle.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into our segment on knockdowns, and we hope that you learned a ton, whether you're playing on ball, whether you're helping recover in the middle, or in an 8-meter situation, that you feel super empowered to be able to create something out of nothing.
Yep.
Anything to add?
Of course. I just want to say thanks for letting me tag along on this fine afternoon, but I just want to say it's little things like this. It's either 15, 30 minutes, keeping your stick in your hand in your backyard, with your sister, brother, mom, dad, whoever, just by yourself,
These little things go a long way, and I'm telling you, this will translate onto the field, and it's these little things that make you go from good to great.
Couldn't agree more, and now we are going to pass it on forward to the World Health Organization and the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund. We hope you will, if you're in a position to donate, consider donating to these great